Hey crafty friends, this is Chelsea. Welcome to today's video. I am so excited to be joining Janice for another Christmas tag video. Julie is also joining us this week, so I'll have links to both of their videos down below. And today we are going to be making some really classy tags. Unfortunately, they're kind of hard to show on camera because we are going to be working on acetate. And they are just really pretty and give you that wow factor for your presents. So we'll jump right into that in a bit. I am using the Christmas Snow Globes Stamp of the Month from Close to My Heart. If you've never gotten a Stamp of the Month before, how it works is you can buy it full price, or if you place a $60 order, you can get it for $6.75, and it's regular $27, so that's a really good deal. But even better, if you're a VIP and you place a $60 order, you can get it for free. So gotta love that. And this set actually has coordinating dies, coordinating thin cuts. Now, unfortunately, when I ordered this, I decided not to get them. I kind of regret that now because I thought of some ways that I would have liked to use them, but I didn't grab them, but you have the option to if you would like to. I also have a new toy to play with. I was sent these markers by the company to try out. They are not paying me for this video, but they did send me these markers to use. And so I want to share with you my thoughts, positives, and negatives on these. So let's go ahead and clear off my desk and get started. To start off, you're going to want some sort of tag. So you could use a die like I'm using. I use these Fancy Tags die, this one right here, and I'm going to show you a different tag idea using this round one right here. I love that some of these have the stitch lines on them. It just adds a little extra detail to the edges. But you could also cut yourself some tags off your Cricut or something like that. For my acetate, I am actually going to be using projector film, like from old school projectors. It's on the thinner side, which doesn't really matter for this. I like using this stuff with dies because it's easy to cut. Close to My Heart has some like fairly heavyweight acetate, and it's really difficult to cut through on your die cutting machine. So I like using this lighter weight. And for tags anyways, you really don't need super sturdy because I am backing it also with a die cut tag in craft paper. This is some stamping, which we're also going to do. I just thought it really made this a little bit more fun and wintry and added some detail. This by itself might get kind of lost on a package, so I like the idea of having something behind it, whether that's patterned paper or a stamp tag like I'm doing. A lot of these little like snow globe images will fit on here. This one here, it's a little bit too tall for this tag, but what I did was I just masked off the bottom. Here, let me grab a tag so you can see that. So you see how this has the stand on the bottom? I just masked it off when I was stamping, and that let me stamp it on there and have enough room for my sentiment. You could always work with a larger tag shape as well if you wanted to. And I will be using StazOn. Now, StazOn comes with this little like liner inside. It says right on it, do not discard, and you don't want to lose this because this ink dries out fairly quickly. But good news is that it also dries on your surface pretty quickly. So it is perfect for stamping on any kind of slippery surface, vellum, acetate, plastic, all kinds of things, glass. So I know this is a little bit tricky to see. I am going to pull in a little foam sheet from the stamp set. If you didn't know that, all the Close to My Heart stamp sets come with this foam in there. And I didn't even know for the longest time what it was for. I thought it was just part of the packaging, but it is to stamp on top of and cushion your stamps to get a better impression. I'm going to throw a little bit of printer paper over here just in case I end up making a mess. I always like to have some of that kicking around. Now, if you haven't used your StazOn pad in a while, you'll probably need to re-ink it before you get going because like I said, it does dry out fairly fast, and when you haven't used it for a while, it's a pretty good guess that it needs to be re-inked. So even though I have recently re-inked this, I can already feel it's drier than it was. What I like to do is ink up my stamp, stamp it off on scrap paper first before taking it to my tag. Make sure I'm on top of the foam here. Just do a little test. Okay, there's a little bit there that didn't transfer perfectly. So we'll just ink this up again and do another little test. You could also use the back side of your Versamat if you have one of those. It's nice and cushy and perfect for stamping. So there we go. That one gave me a good result. So I'm just gonna bring in my tag now. If you're stamping a whole bunch of tags, I would tell you go ahead, do all your stays on stamping at once, because I find like once my stamp is seasoned with stays on, my transfer is better if I just do all my stamping at one time rather than like stamping one, cleaning it off, coming back later kind of thing. Did get a little bit of slip there. Because you're stamping on acetate, it can be a little bit tricky. Not too bad, not too bad. If you find that you have trouble stamping onto acetate or vellum or anything and it's just so slippery, use a stamp platform because that will really make a big difference. Because then you don't have to worry about sliding because the door of the platform is just going to go straight down. All right, and then I'll just stamp this at the bottom. There is my stamp tag. I'm actually going to set that aside for a minute and let it dry. And I like to clean up my stamps fairly soon after I use stays on. And it's kind of a two-step process. So there is stays on cleaner, or you can probably use other stamp cleaners as well. This is just what I have. I'm gonna rub it over here. This is a solvent-based ink. I don't think regular like soap and water kind of stuff is good enough for it. You need some kind of remover to actually get that off your stamps. And then once I feel like I've gotten that pretty much off, then I like to go in with my regular stamp chamois, which is just water, because I don't want to leave that cleaner on my stamps. You can also rinse them under water as well. Okay, this should probably be fairly dry. It does feel slightly tacky, but it's not transferring. But I do want to stamp some snowflakes on here, which means I'm going to use pigment ink. So I'm going to go ahead and do that stamping now too, because pigment ink can take a while to dry. So I'm using the Close to My Heart White Daisy. And then I'm using this set from Close to My Heart called Snow Cute. You could use whatever snowflake set you have that has several different sizes of images. I've gone ahead and mounted a whole bunch of these snowflakes up onto blocks so that they're ready to go. And same thing, if you're doing a few of these, I would do all your stamping at one time. Now, when you're using pigment ink, you don't want to press hard. You probably can't see from the angle. I am just lightly tapping the surface of the ink. It's very juicy, and if I press down, I'm going to get it all into the crevices of my stamp. So I just want to get good coverage, so I'm doing lots of little pounces. And I'm still stamping on top of that foam pad. That foam pad is still under here. So you still re-ink every time you go to stamp, but I am not pushing at all. I like having a variety of sizes. I think it looks really nice when you're doing a whole background. If you have like a background stamp set, you could also do that and just do it all in one fell swoop. I like to start with my biggest images first and then fill in the gaps with smaller images. It's nice that the set goes right down to like tiny little star images. I'm going to use some of those just to fill in these gaps. Right, I think that's good. Now I'm just going to set this aside and let it air dry. That pigment ink will take longer than a regular dye ink since it's sitting on the surface of the tag and it is a wetter ink. All right, this tag should be dry enough now. Yeah, feels good and dry. Sometimes if you get like a thick part that had more ink on it, it'll stay a little bit tackier feeling, but this stamped nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is flip it over to the back side. Now, when you're working on the back side of something clear like this, whatever you put on first is what is going to show like on the top. It's what's going to show the most when you flip it over to the right side. So I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to bring in these markers. So these are waterproof, light fast, low odor pigment ink. They also call them acrylic paint markers on the Amazon listing. So I'm not sure if they're acrylic paint markers or pigment ink or what, but it says pigment ink on here. And you want to give them a really good shake. If you've never used them before, really, really shake them. You can hear the mixing ball that's going on in there. And then when you open them up, you're going to want to hold them down and kind of pump them up and down a little bit and get that ink flowing first before you even start. This tip is actually a plastic tip, so it's not a brush or a felt nib or anything. It's actually plastic, which I thought was interesting. I've never had any markers that were plastic before. This is the reddest color that they have, and I'm going to use it for the little ornaments. So I'm just going to get the ink flowing here. It is definitely more on the orange side, I would say, than red. It's an orangey red. And I think those are all the little ornaments. But I want to get these colors in first, and I'm going to put in a little bit of gold as well. And then I want to also put gold down here on the bottom of this snow globe. Now, the nice thing about this is it really doesn't take a lot of precision. If you can color in like a coloring book, you can do this. I wouldn't say these are really blending markers at all. I have blended a couple shades of like the green together. It looks okay, but it's not going to be like a real blended look like if you colored with a Copic. They are super high shine. You can see the gold is a very yellow based gold. And then I think, let's grab the darker green. There is a lighter green and a darker green. And as far as what I can tell, there are no names on here. There's no numbering system. They do have a 0.7 millimeter tip on them, which is nice and fine for like detail work. And there is a nice little rainbow of colors. So I'm going to fill in the tree. And it's all right if I go over the black lines. I'm trying to avoid the red because it's not dried yet. If I waited for the red to dry, then I could go right over top of that area with the green. But right now it's still wet and it will mix. These do take a little bit to dry. Not a ton of time, but you do need to wait and let them dry, especially since they're on a non-porous surface. I think if you were coloring them on paper, they'd dry a lot faster. But most markers won't color on something slippery like acetate. You can use alcohol markers, but you get kind of very transparent, kind of streaky finish. So I love the more opaque look of these. They are really fun to play with. Here is a look at the colors that come in this metallic set. I've swatched them out on black and on white. Some colors are better than others. You can see here's the red and here's the orange. They are very similar. You can see this is more red than this one. The orange is also a little bit more transparent, I think, maybe, or just the way I swatched it. This color here is kind of like a bronzy sort of color. It's probably my least favorite in the whole set. It's not a very strong color and it is more transparent. It doesn't write out as nicely as the other colors. The silver is pretty good. I have gotten it to look a slightly more high shine, but I would like it if it was even brighter personally. These colors are all really nice. The greens, the blues, the purple, and then the gold. You can see it's a very yellow gold. So I would love to have another option of like a cooler toned gold as well. In comparison to if you see me use the Spectrum Noir metallic paint markers, I love these things. I wish I had a full rainbow of these. They have different chisel ends. They have a detail end. So there's like 3 different sizes of ends for those ones. And I will say, as far as smell, these smell way more strongly like paint. These have a light odor to them, but they're not bad at all. Not like working with an actual like regular paint pen. But this one gives you a little bit more of a cool toned gold as compared to that super warm yellow gold. All right, now the fun thing is with these two, if you don't get, oh, you can see I got a little bit of imprint. My stamp wasn't completely dry. So when I flip that over here, if you don't get perfect coverage the first time around, you can let it dry and do a second coat, and that works perfectly as well. I can see there's a couple areas on the little gold part that is transparent, but not bad. So now for the other colors, I need to bring in different colors than what I have right here. So I was also sent this set of acrylic markers, and these are a little bit different. There's no shaking to them. There's 2 colors in each one. I have some already pulled out of the set here. You can see there's 2 different colors on each pen. Some of them kind of go together, some of them don't. I haven't swatched these all out yet, but these are a lot more opaque and they are matte, kind of more what you would think of with acrylic paint. I will link everything I'm using, including these 2 sets down below if you want to go check them out. So I think this is the color I was using. And I don't think, these ones, they do have color numbers, but I have no idea what if there is like a numbering system in place. I'm not sure. But this is kind of like a grayish blue, and I'm going to mix that with the white. Now the white in this set is quite transparent. It's not nearly as opaque as that one that I just showed you. But what I'm going to do, this is what I did on the other one. I just put some of the blue around the top. I'm going to try and make it as smooth as I can. I did end up layering these, so put them on, let them dry, and then come back and add another layer. And you can mix a little bit while they are wet as well. Oh, I just realized I put that on the front, so hang on a second. All right, I just wiped that off with a baby wipe before it actually dried. We're gonna flip it over to the back side, which is where I want to put my color. If you're careful, you can put it on the front, but just keep in mind that if you go over top of the lines, these colors will cover up your lines because they are opaque or semi-opaque. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll come back and do another coat. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna take this blue, and I'm just going to go over the little snowflakes that are floating here so that there's just a little bit of color popping out behind them. And then I also need to find a brown for that tree. There we go. We'll let those start to dry. Let's see, got that brown. I got this brown. This one is the 38. Now I also want to add a little bit of shine on those the marks on the glass on the globe. So I'm just going to go right beside and add some silver. I'm basically just picking the side that doesn't have snowflakes. Have a little peek. It's kind of hard to see. I'll grab a tag here. There's my first coat so far. So the metallic ones, I don't think they need a second coat really. The gold, actually, I might give it a second coat because you can see when it turns, there's a little bit of darker spaces, but the other colors are fine. The green looks good. And then on the snow, I'm going to do the same thing where I give it a coat, let it dry. I'll probably end up doing 3 layers with that grayish blue and the white. And then I will be back. So here is what we have so far. I did the extra coats on everything. And if I put it with the tag behind it, you can kind of see what that's going to look like when it's all put together. Now, one last step that I want to do is give this a gold border. This is something that I quite often do with the Spectrum Noir paint pens. And it is a little bit faster with those ones because when you use the chisel tip, you can really zip around edges really fast. Because these are so fine, you kind of have to go a little bit slower. but it's definitely possible and it doesn't take that long. So there's my gold edge. You'll really see it once it's on the tag, but I'm gonna let this fully dry before I move it anywhere and get it all over everything. I wanted to share with you today. This is something that my daughter made. This was just like one of those little like plaster ornaments from the dollar store. And she saw me using these markers, and of course she really wanted to try them out. So I was like, okay, we'll try them out. And actually they worked really good. I asked her if she liked using them, and she said yes, she really liked using them, and that she liked using them more than her paintbrush with paints, which I thought was interesting. They did work out to be a lot cleaner than paints, and I mean, they dried really good on the plaster. These do say that they're good for like painting rocks and stuff like that too. And I just thought it was so cute. The one thing that she got frustrated with was trying to mix colors, because usually when she paints, she's like mixing all her colors together. So she was trying to layer the pens on top of each other. Sometimes it worked to mix the colors and sometimes it didn't. So that was the only thing that really got her frustrated. She was able to pull off the caps, no problem. Put them back on, no problem. I have some like painty fingerprints on a couple of them now. But any of the ones that got mixed, I was able to just scribble them off and get them back to their original color. So I thought I'd mention that if you were looking for something maybe a little bit neater to do with some kids, I would say you definitely need to supervise if they're anywhere near the age of my daughter. She's 3.5, and she definitely needed like heavy supervision. All right, let's see. This should be dry. Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is just layer these two tags on top of each other. And then I have a couple of different ribbons here. These are both from Michaels. This ribbon is really pretty, but it does not tie in a bow very well. So I'm just going to cut this one like this and bunch it up to thread it through. I did originally try to tie a bow with this gold ribbon, and it just was not working. It was too stiff, and I figured I wouldn't bother with that, so I grabbed some like satin ribbon. And I'm just gonna tie a bow around here. Now, most of the work of tying bows is just in the fussing with them after you tie them and getting ribbon turned back around if it twisted, and just kind of fussing with the ends, pulling and fluffing, and that's where most of the work comes in, tying bows. I think I used to be a lot better at it when I did it all the time too, when I was putting bows on everything. All right, and I'm just going to trim my ends here. And then I'm also going to trim down these ends and make them look nice. There we go. That is the finished tag. And I'll bring in my other ones here. And then I have a couple of other things I wanted to show you. So this one here, I actually did gold and green with the pens on the inside, on the brown layer, on the craft layer, and then the top I also have gold on that. Really pretty. And then here's that other one. I love how these turned out. I think they're so classy and stunning. I just love all the metallics with the craft and the white. And of course, I couldn't leave it there. I was playing around with a couple other of my stamp sets. This Silver Bells card making set. I stamped the bells, so they're stamped in StazOn on the front, and then I colored the back. And hopefully, yeah, you can see just the shine of that metallic. Isn't that beautiful? So I could leave it just like that. I could layer it over white, but it looks like a sticker. Like, it's just beautiful. And then I also did just like a die cut embellishment. You could actually add this onto a tag if you poke a hole You could just like add it on as an embellishment onto a tag, as like a little dangling embellishment. I added 2 layers on this blue just because the area was so big and open. But isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love how that turned out. Now this one I did a little bit differently. I used that scalloped tag again, and I used this Warmest Greetings, the background. I stamped it with StazOn, and then I colored the back with the matte paint pens. I used 2 different shades of green. Yeah, you can kind of see there's a lighter in the middle and darker on both sides. I did end up giving that 2 coats to get it as solid as I did. You can see there's just a little bit of like light kind of poking through, but it's fairly solid. And then on the front side, I actually used the metallic pens. Now I could have done metallic pens down first on the back side, let that dry, and then layer the matte paint pens over top. That would also look really good. But I didn't think of that at the time until I'd already painted the back. So just another idea for something a little bit different. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hop on over to Julie's video next and check that out. I'll have it linked here at the end. And if you're looking for any of these supplies, I have everything linked down in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.